1. Introduction. My name was Cease. I was 26 years old. My life in a small hometown became difficult. I had a painful breakup, and then I lost my job. These two big problems made me feel very sad. I knew I needed a change. I wanted to leave everything behind and start fresh somewhere new. So, I decided to move. I chose a very big city, far from my old life. I had never been there before. I packed my few things into some boxes. Saying goodbye was hard, but I felt a strong need to go. The journey to the city was long. I thought a lot about my future. When I arrived, the city was huge and busy. Tall buildings stood everywhere, and there were many people. It was very different from my quiet hometown. I found a tiny apartment to rent. It had only 2 rooms. The rent was high, but I liked having my own space. Living there, I felt 2 things. I felt very lonely because I knew no one, but I also felt free. I could do anything. No one knew my past. This was a chance to be a new Cease. Days turned into weeks. I looked for a new job and walked around the city. Most evenings, I stayed in my small apartment. I often missed my hometown, but I focused on the future. I knew it would take time to build a new life here. One evening, the weather changed. Heavy rain started to fall. I was walking and had no umbrella. The streets became wet. I tried to find my way back, but I took a wrong turn. I was lost. The rain became heavier, and I felt a little scared. I stood under a shop roof, hoping the rain would stop. Then a man came near me. He held a large umbrella. He stopped and looked at me. He had a kind face. He asked if I needed help. I told him I was lost. He smiled gently and offered to walk with me. His name was Henry. He was quiet, but his voice was calm. As we walked, I felt a strange warmth. He helped me find my street and my building. I thanked him. He just nodded and walked away into the rain. It was a short meeting, but it felt important. 2. A new neighbor. The next morning, the memory of Henry helping me still felt warm. I heard sounds in the hallway. When I opened my door, I saw someone closing an apartment door on the floor above mine. It was Henry. My heart beat faster. He saw me and smiled. "Good morning, Cease," he said. I smiled back. It was a surprise. He lived so close. The big city felt smaller. It was strange to meet someone and then find out they were your neighbor. I felt happiness and wonder. That same afternoon, a soft knock came at my door. I opened it and saw Henry again. He held a warm cup of tea and a soft blanket. "Hello, Cease," he said. "I thought you might like these. It's cool inside." His kindness touched me. My small apartment often felt cold. I invited him in. He placed the tea on my table and offered the blanket. We sat on my tiny sofa. The room felt less lonely. We talked about the weather, then the city. Henry had lived in this city for many years. He knew its streets and quiet places. He told me about small cafes and parks. He spoke about old buildings. I listened with interest. I was new here, still learning. I told him about my first few days, how everything felt big. He nodded, understanding. He said it takes time to feel at home. Then he mentioned his work. I own a small bookstore, he said. It's near the main train station. I imagined a cozy shop full of books. Henry was a calm, gentle person. His voice was soft, his movements careful. I liked his quietness. He looked at me in a way that made me feel truly listened to. But sometimes, when he smiled, I saw something else in his eyes. It was a deep, quiet sadness, like a secret he carried. It was not a sad smile, but one hinting at past feelings. I wondered what stories he kept inside. He seemed like a person who had seen many things. He was quiet, but his presence was strong and warm. Every time we talked, I felt a mix of feelings. First, happiness. It was good to have someone new in this big city after feeling alone. His company was a comfort. But then, a nervous feeling too. My heart would beat faster, and my hands sometimes felt shaky. I didn't understand why. Perhaps it was because he was new, or perhaps because his kindness felt special. I only knew that talking to Henry made my days brighter. He was a new and interesting part of my new life here. 3. Coffee and secrets. One morning, Henry asked me to visit his bookstore. He said we could have coffee there. I felt a little excited to go. I walked to the address he gave me. The bookstore was on a quiet street, not far from my apartment building. I pushed the door open, and a small bell rang softly. Henry looked up from behind a big wooden desk and smiled. His smile was kind and made me feel welcome. The air inside the bookstore was warm and inviting. A lovely smell filled the room. It was a mix of old paper and fresh flowers. There were shelves full of books everywhere, from the floor to the ceiling. Some books looked very old, with yellow pages. Others looked new and colorful. It was a cozy place, full of stories. I walked slowly, looking at all the different books. Henry offered me a seat at a small table in the corner. He brought 2 cups of coffee. The coffee was warm and smelled good. We sat down. Henry looked around his store with a soft expression. He started to talk about his family. He told me his parents passed away many years ago. He was young when it happened. Now he runs the bookstore all by himself. It was their store first, and he wanted to keep it open. He spoke quietly, and I listened carefully. I could see a deep sadness in his eyes, but also a strong love for his parents and the store. Then it was my turn to share. I felt comfortable with Henry, like I could tell him anything. I took a deep breath. I told him about my old life, about my small hometown. I spoke about my difficult breakup. It was a hard time for me. I also lost my job around the same time. I explained that I needed a big change. That is why I came to this big city. I needed a fresh start, a new beginning. Henry listened without saying much, but his eyes showed he understood. I felt safe with him, like my secrets were safe too. When it was time to leave, Henry walked me to the door. He picked up a book from a shelf. It had a simple cover. He told me, "This book is about new beginnings." He handed it to me. As our fingers touched, my heart started to beat very fast. It was just a small touch, but it felt special. I looked at him, and he looked at me. I smiled, feeling a warmth spread through me. I thanked him for the coffee and the book. I left the bookstore, holding the book tightly, my mind full of thoughts about Henry and our conversation. A big storm. One evening, the city skies turned a dark, heavy gray. Soon, a big storm began. Rain fell hard against my window, making a loud noise. The wind howled like a sad song. Suddenly, all the lights in my apartment went out. The entire building became dark. The power was gone. I sat in the silent darkness, feeling a little scared and very alone. The only light came from the lightning flashes outside, which lit up my room for a second and then disappeared. A few minutes later, there was a soft knock on my door. I opened it carefully. It was Henry. He stood there holding a small flashlight. His face looked kind in the dim light. He asked if I was okay and if I needed anything. I felt a wave of relief. He came inside and we found 2 candles. We lit them, and their warm, soft glow pushed back some of the darkness. The storm outside continued, but inside with Henry, it felt a little less frightening. We sat on the floor near the small, flickering lights. The sound of the rain and wind was loud, but we could still talk easily. We talked for a long time, sharing stories as the night grew deeper. Henry spoke softly. He told me about someone he once loved very much. He said this person had hurt him badly. She had betrayed his trust, and it had been a very painful time for him. He spoke of how difficult it was to open his heart again after that. Listening to him, I understood his feelings. I thought about my own past, about my breakup, and the reasons I had moved to this big city. I told Henry that I was also afraid to trust again. I explained that after my own experience, it felt very hard to believe in love or to let someone get close to me. We both felt the weight of our pasts, the fears that still lived inside us. The candlelight made long shadows dance on the walls as we shared these deep, personal thoughts. Henry looked at me with his calm, gentle eyes. He reached out and lightly touched my hand. His touch was warm and steady. He promised me he would never hurt me. He said he understood my fear and that he would be careful with my heart. In that moment, with the storm raging outside and the quiet candlelight between us, I felt a strong connection to him. It was a feeling of deep understanding and comfort. His words made me feel safer than I had felt in a long time. The fear did not disappear completely, but with Henry, it felt smaller, and hope felt a little bit bigger. 5. Falling in love. Henry started walking me to work every morning. This became a nice routine. The city was always waking up. We talked about small things or sometimes just walked in quiet. His presence made my day brighter. I looked forward to these walks very much. He also started leaving me small gifts. Sometimes I found a little note by my door. The notes had kind words. Other times, fresh flowers were there. They were simple, but made my tiny apartment feel special. Each gift was a small surprise that made me smile. I felt cared for in a new way. These acts showed he thought about me. We spent more and more time together. Henry loved books. He taught me about different writers and stories. I learned a lot about books from him. I also helped him in the shop. He wanted to paint one wall. I offered to help. We laughed while painting, even when paint got on our clothes. It was fun. We listened to soft music. These moments felt natural. It was easy to be with Henry. People in our building started to notice us. When they saw us together, they often smiled. It was a warm feeling. I was not just a lonely person anymore. I had Henry. He was becoming a very important part of my life. My heart felt lighter when he was near. Slowly, I realized my feelings for Henry were growing strong. It was more than friendship. When he smiled, my day got better. When he was not around, I missed him. I thought about him often. I remembered his kind eyes, gentle voice, and how he listened to me. This feeling was new and strong. I was falling in love with Henry. It was a soft, quiet kind of love, like the books he sold. It felt real and good. One evening, we sat in his apartment. City lights shone outside. We were talking, then stopped. There was a quiet moment. He reached out and took my hand. His hand felt warm and safe. He looked at me, his eyes serious. "I want you to stay in this city, Cease," he said. His voice was low. I knew what he meant. He wanted me to stay with him. He was scared, I could see it. But he was ready to try. And I was ready too. 6. An old love returns. Cease was at Henry's bookstore, as she often was these days. The air always smelled of old books and fresh coffee, a comforting mix. She helped Henry arrange new arrivals and sometimes just read quietly in a corner. She loved watching him work, his gentle hands carefully placing books on shelves. They had grown very close. Henry had told her he wanted her to stay in the city, and Cease felt her heart bloom with hope. She believed in their new beginning. One afternoon, the quiet peace of the shop broke. The door opened, and a woman stepped inside. Cease looked up from a book, surprised. The woman was tall and had bright, confident eyes. She walked straight to Henry, who was behind the counter. Cease felt a strange feeling in her stomach. She did not know why, but she quickly moved behind a tall bookshelf, hidden from view. She could still hear them clearly. "Henry," the woman said, her voice was strong. "It's Clara, I've come back." Henry looked surprised. His face became pale. "Clara," he said, his voice quiet. "What are you doing here?" Clara smiled. "I want to be with you again, Henry. I made a mistake before. I know it now. We belong together." Cease's heart dropped. It felt like a heavy stone. She listened, unable to move. This was the woman Henry had loved before, the one who had hurt him. Henry took a deep breath. "No, Clara," he said. "That time is over. I cannot go back." Clara did not give up. "But Henry, think about all we had." "You can't just forget it. You look happy, but I know you. You are still sad sometimes. I can make you truly happy again." Cease felt a sharp pain in her chest. She wanted to run, but her feet felt stuck. Clara looked at Henry, her eyes serious. "Who is she, Henry? Is it that new girl? Be careful. She will hurt you too. Everyone leaves in the end." Henry did not answer. He just looked down at his hands. Cease could see he was shaken. His shoulders were tense. He looked like he was in pain, even though he said no to Clara. Clara waited for a moment, then she sighed loudly and walked out of the store. The bell above the door rang, and then the quiet returned. But it was a different kind of quiet now, a heavy one. Cease stayed hidden for a long time. She felt like a part of her had broken. Henry did not look for her. He just stood behind the counter, looking out the window. When it was time for the shop to close, Cease quietly left. She did not say goodbye. That night, Cease waited for Henry's call. She waited for 1 hour, then 2 hours, then 3. Her phone stayed silent. The words Clara had said played in her mind. "She will hurt you too. Everyone leaves in the end." Cease felt cold and alone in her small apartment. She thought about Henry's sad eyes. He had been so affected by Clara. Cease felt a deep sadness. She cried until she fell asleep, feeling more lost than she had since she first came to the big city. Her new hope now felt fragile, like a thin glass. 7, a choice for love. Cease avoids Henry for several days. She feels very sad and scared. Her heart hurts. She thinks about everything that happened. She remembers Clara and Henry talking. She feels like she cannot trust anyone again. She stays inside her apartment. She does not answer her phone. She does not go to the bookstore. She misses Henry, but she is also angry. She wonders if he will come for her. She wonders if he truly cares about her. Each day feels long and empty without him. She tries to read books, but she cannot focus. She looks out her window at the city. The city lights look blurry. She feels alone, just like when she first came here. Then, one evening, there is a knock at her door. Her heart jumps. She knows it is Henry. She opens the door slowly. Henry stands there. He holds a small bunch of flowers. He also has a letter in his hand. His face looks tired, but his eyes are full of worry. He looks at her with a sad expression. He does not say anything at first. Cease feels a mix of emotions, surprise, anger, and a little hope. Henry steps inside. He gives her the flowers. They are simple, pretty flowers. Then he gives her the letter. He asks her to read it. Cease takes the letter. Her hands shake a little. She opens it and starts to read. In the letter, Henry explains everything. He writes that he told Clara to leave. He told her that he did not want to be with her. He wrote that his past with Clara was over. He said he chose a new future. He looks at Cease. He speaks softly. He says he wants only her. He says she is the only one who matters now. He tells her that she has given him a new chance. He says he was afraid, but now he is not. He will not run away from love again. He tells her that he wants to be with her. He says she brought light back into his life. He says she gave him hope again. His words are simple but strong. Cease feels her heart fill with warmth. All the sadness and fear slowly go away. She looks at Henry. She sees the truth in his eyes. She knows he means every word. She knows he made his choice. She did not need to be scared anymore. She reaches out and pulls him close. She holds him tightly. She forgives him for his silence. She understands he needed time. They stand there for a long moment. It feels like a new beginning. Later, they walk outside together. They walk hand in hand under the city lights. The city feels bright and hopeful again. They talk about their future. They talk about their dreams. Cease feels safe and loved. She knows she found her true home with Henry. Her choice was clear. She chose love. 8. A new beginning. Several months passed quickly. The city became my true home. I was no longer just a visitor. One day, Henry and I decided it was time. I moved my things into his apartment. My small boxes mixed with his old books. We spent many evenings making the space our own. We painted one wall a soft blue color. We bought a new lamp for the living room. It was a happy time. Every morning I woke up next to him. Every night we read books together before sleep. His apartment now felt like our apartment. It was a place full of shared laughter and quiet moments. We made plans for our future. Then came our next big plan, the reading cafe. We wanted to make his bookstore even more special. We talked for many hours about ideas. We decided to use the empty space at the back of the shop. We bought a small coffee machine and comfortable chairs. Henry chose the books to display. I helped choose the music. We painted the walls a warm yellow. The air began to smell like fresh coffee and old paper. It was a lot of work, but it was fun. We worked side by side, dreaming of our new business. Finally, one sunny morning, we opened the doors of the Quiet Corner Cafe. People from the neighborhood came in. They smiled and sat down with a book and a hot drink. The cafe quickly became a popular place. Our days were busy and full. I served coffee and talked to customers. Henry managed the bookstore, recommending books. The cafe was always filled with soft music and the sound of turning pages. Sometimes we would sit together during a quiet moment. We would watch people reading, happy in their own worlds. Our life together was simple, but it was rich. Every day I saw Henry's gentle smile. Every day I felt his steady love. We shared everything, our work, our dreams, our quiet evenings. We cooked dinner together. We walked through the city parks. We talked about everything and nothing. Our bond grew stronger with each passing week. I often thought about my past. I had come to this big city with very little. I had left my old life behind, feeling lost and unsure. But here, in this new place, I had found so much. I had found a purpose. I had found a home. Most importantly, I had found Henry. He had shown me what true love felt like. He had helped me to trust again. Looking at him across the cafe, I knew I was exactly where I was meant to be. This was my new beginning. This was my home, built on books, coffee, music, and love. I had started with nothing, but now I had everything.